The more you succeed, the more you see who your real friends are.
That's good. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes
Powerful.
total sense. Yeah.
It's totally true. Because when you're in whatever your inner circle is, if all those people are the same, now hopefully they're all super healthy.
Right.
Because really we're talking about an unhealthy mindset
Yes.
that creates this perception that I'm in competition with you,
Right.
and you're in competition with me,
Yeah.
and if you do better than me, then I feel lesser about myself or whatever. That's just not healthy. So the conversation is about what's healthy competition
Right.
and what's unhealthy competition.
And that can be in another layer is like competition with, there's envy, jealousy involved, those kind of things. And that's kind of not my story, but it's like, I'm just saying, being younger. Yeah, I remember it kind of goes back to when we were early married, had no money. And
Wait a minute.
What?
You're saying you were envious?
Yes.
Oh,
just
do
being
tell.
more envious of like my friends who could afford to go buy.
Do I know this story?
I don't know.
Oh, this is new.
Probably
is
not.
This,
It's
is
not
this
just
breaking news?
Yeah, it's just it.
Is this the first time ever?
An experience of me feeling like I was, because we were in a spot where, you know, we'd play cards at night. We couldn't go out. We couldn't buy anything extra, and so anyway.
Those were some good card games.
Yes,
though.
they were. Anyway,
It was poor people card games.
Yes.
So you make do with
fun.
what you have. But
Yeah. Anyway.
It was entertaining in our own way.
Yes.
That's another
But
conversation.
I'm saying, like, just as far as, it wasn't competition as much as more kind of being envious of them being able to go out and buy their, because I was used to, I bought whatever I wanted. I had my own money. I could, when I worked, and I could buy whatever. Well, they're buying their, the designer purses, the stuff that I was used to having, different things like that.
Wait a minute.
What?
Hold that thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did mean to interrupt you. Because it almost sounds like, just so the audience understands, it wasn't that you had a lot of money.
Oh, no,
It was
no.
just in relation.
Before we got together.
Neither
Yes.
of us did.
When we were single, when I was single.
Yeah.
I'm saying
yeah.
I just, from when I worked.
It was your own
my
money.
own money.
And it was kid type money.
Yeah.
Because we were just kids.
Yeah, I'm just saying I bought my own clothes and my own stuff.
Yeah,
I had
okay.
to buy
Go
my
on,
own things.
go on.
So I would buy my own things and buy what I wanted, And then when we couldn't do that, and I remember feeling that envy and that kind of jealousy of, man, I love that purse. I wish I could buy one, stuff like that. But that's not, I don't know if that's unhealthy, as I would call competition or jealousy of that people have with, which we've dealt with in different ways, of people being jealous of our home or things we have or things like that can
There's
come across
always
and
someone somewhere.
cause damage to relationships and things like that. That's where it crosses the line and becomes kind of unhealthy, when it comes out in different ways and can cause damage to relationships because you find out things are said and there's jealousy and all these things behind your back that you don't know. Or what other examples have you got of I know we've dealt with different things with competing, friends-wise, and different things. What do you have?
So yeah, there was a big one I learned with a friend of mine who, he's super competitive, and he was in competition with me more than I was in competition with him.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous place to be. And it didn't show itself for a long time, but then as my career path and successes changed over time, and they didn't match level for level, his successes, then it became more of a challenging competition that was straining on our friendship. And the challenge is, I shouldn't say the challenge, the problem was he was in competition with me for success, but I never even noticed him in a level of competition. And I think what was the greatest lesson for me, let me pause. You can't exactly, everybody has a point or a time in their life, I think, where they'll look at somebody and say, man, must be nice.
Right.
Or, oh, nice ride, bro.
Yeah.
Or I wish I had that lifestyle, or I wish I had that picture. And, we've had some conversations about this. In fact, we just did a video. So for those who may be interested, we just did one on authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's a good one that may be a good correlation with this conversation. But I think the challenge comes is when it starts impacting your relationship, because you're defining yourself as what you see somebody else in their success. And man, we're all different. And then you start feeling some of the tension in the relationship. And I don't think you always know why.
Right.
I don't think you always
Yeah.
know that that's really there or that's what it is.
It comes out later in different areas or different things.
In a lot of different areas, sometimes in kind of just snide behavior, gossip.
And you have no idea. Yeah.
And you have no idea. Gossip, oftentimes a big one, which
Yeah, that's-
I hate. We just had a fresh conversation
Yes.
with some folks on gossip
Yep.
and how can you walk in gratefulness and be thankful for what God's blessed you with while you're talking bad about everybody else.
Right.
And what that really says is, I'm not grateful because I just want what everybody else has, and it makes me feel less valuable.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's not a value.
Right.
It's not a value thing, because I'm me, you're you,
Right.
they're them. We're all different, and we're always going to have different strokes.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that the competition there in the friendship, I didn't even realize until many, many years later. And I always knew, and he would say, "You're really competitive." And
He did always say that.
I always said that,
Yeah.
and I never even thought much about it until I realized, yeah, but I'm not competitive with you.
Right.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel when you realized this? How deep it was as far as on that side. How did you feel? Kind of.
It hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
It hurt a little bit because I've got only a handful of close friends that
Right.
Are really close inner circle, and I've got several friends who spread out through that circle. But it was something I had to come to grips with.
Yeah.
And we just did another video which is related to this on seasons of change.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
gosh, this is it's all coming full
coming
circle.
right, yeah.
But so check that one out if you want to hear that conversation. But the seasons of change, that's what I realized really is, hey, we're just in different seasons. And although I love them as a friend, and I always will, and appreciate them as a friend and consider them close friends, these people, when this happens, I just have to embrace the fact that, look, I can't change them.
Right.
I try to build them up, and I try to encourage my friends and help them in any way I can to lead them to their desires. But that's an internal process that I have no control over
Right.
for them.
Exactly.
It's deeply inside of them. It's a void that they're dealing with, or I'm dealing with, or you're dealing with, that nobody else can fill the void until you get control of your mind and your thoughts to say, hey, look, I'm not in competition with them.
Right.
They're not going to be the ones who define how I feel about myself.
Yeah. That's
know?
that's really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like another story behind that is or how I feel is when my friends or my family or whoever, they get something, a big house, a new
We
car.
celebrate.
Yes, we're happy
celebrate.
for them. I mean, why
That's a
wouldn't you be
healthy-
supportive
yeah.
and happy and not? We've gone through this with people when we got a bigger home or whatever, and
When you
there's
just go through the
snide
stages of life.
jealousy and
Yeah.
different remarks and things that come out, and I'm like, but when my own friends are happy and supportive and this is great, congratulations, whatever, others are just make the snide comments and the jealousy comes out when it's people that should be supporting you.
There was a comment one of my mentors made, and he said, the more you succeed, the more you see who your real friends are.
That's good. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes
Powerful.
total sense.
It's
Yeah.
totally true. Because when you're in whatever your inner circle is, if all those people are the same, now hopefully they're all super healthy.
Right.
Because really we're talking about an unhealthy mindset
Yes.
that creates this perception that I'm in competition with you,
Right.
and you're in competition with me,
Yeah.
and if you do better than me, then I feel lesser about myself or whatever. That's just not healthy. There are versions that are healthy, right?
Yeah.
So
Do you think, I was going to say real quick, do you think it's some insecurities that come out that cause these things?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be some type
it's a
of
measurement tool.
Yeah.
You're defining your status in life, your position of where you are, whether it's in your marriage and how your family looks compared to the next person, or what your finances may look like compared to the next person, or what you drive compared to the next person.
Right.
All these things, how many times you vacation a year. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's comparison
Kids,
that
yeah.
creates the competition. And how successful your kids are.
Yes, how your kids in sports, in school.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one for moms and their kids. That's a big.
It's everywhere. So it's a competitive nature, but I think the only real way to resolve it is to know who you should be in competition with instead of who you actually are in competition
Right.
with.
Yeah.
Because here's how I realize this with my friend and others, sometimes it's family,
Yeah.
is I realized, although I may not be competing with them, there may be others that are seeing what I do and seeing me as competition. But the difference is why I think I've been a little bit healthier on this side, and especially after I realized this, through time and age, is that I put some pretty high standards on myself. So my biggest competitor is me.
You. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever told you this, but back to the road cycling. So as I would, try to stay in shape, I'm riding and by myself, and it was like a 20, 25 mile ride that used to be kind of my norm when I'd go out and shoot off for a bit. And
That's
I was
a lot.
up on the levee. And as I was riding, it comes around like this, makes this hard bend past the bridge. I know, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and I had this kind of almost like a spiritual moment, and I could see my shadow. Yeah, I know. I could see.
I think you did tell me this.
I told you.
You did.
I know I'm a dork. I could see my this stuff gets in my head, and I'm
So
like,
funny. Oh my
wow,
gosh.
that's powerful, and I'm all by myself.
Yeah.
So I could see my shadow, and so my competitive nature started kicking in, and I'm like, there's a reality to this. Who's winning? Who's ahead? Me or that guy? I know that guy was me. I know I'm weird. It's just these things happen.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're chasing and you're pushing with all you have, and you see this person right behind you, and it keeps pushing you. And I made some kind of comment about it, and then I'm like, this guy was riding my tail for miles. I just couldn't lose him.
Yeah, you couldn't shake him.
Then all of a sudden I turned right. And he was gone. I was like,
Yeah.
yes!
Oh my gosh.
I beat him. So I kept pressing myself
That is so funny.
with my own inner competition.
Yeah, that's good, though.
Trying to run from my shadow
Yeah.
and stay ahead of the shadow. And when I turned a little bit this way, he got
gone.
closer.
Oh, he was
when I
closer.
turned to the right, all of a sudden he was gone. And I just had an epiphany in that moment, thinking of the things that we have that push us, the things that we chase, the things we compete with.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're not even real.
Right.
They're not even real.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's really good.
yeah, it was funny. It was a goofy little moment. But at the end of the day, I think the point is this: there are healthy ways to be competitive.
Right.
And if you're not careful, and your competition or your level of competition comes from somebody in your circle or somebody around you, you may start exposing that depending on how strong it is, and it may damage the relationship.
Right.
Now, in my circumstance, what I noticed was, as this grew, any conversation was just full of advice.
Yeah.
Advice on everything, and to where it lost
Advice for you.
for
from
me
him, yeah.
for anything. Instead of just, hey, can't we just be buddies?
Yeah, have a
can't we
normal
just talk,
conversation.
have a normal conversation? And I would just appease and, oh, thanks for sharing that,
Yeah.
and oh, that's a great tip. But the reality is, they're being fueled by giving the advice.
Right. It makes them feel.
Yeah, because of the competition layer in there. And so it has impact on the relationship
Yeah,
over
for
time,
sure.
to where you start feeling like, look, this was a season of change. That competition is not so healthy anymore.
Yeah.
And we've drifted away in what our different success types are,
Yeah.
and what we value is significantly different
Yeah.
at this point in our lives.
Yeah.
So
That's good. And we need to, that's what I was going to say, is we need to be lifting each other up, being supportive for each other, being happy
celebrating
for each other. I mean,
each other.
yeah, when things happen, don't be jealous or envious or whatever. Be happy.
If there's one
mean-
thing that would be the most important thing that people did in their relationships, it would be to honestly just celebrate others.
Yeah.
Set aside envy and see their win,
Yeah.
and be happy and excited for them.
Yes.
Instead of comparing to, was their win bigger than mine? Have they
Right.
surpassed me? Or, well, I wish that was me.
Yeah.
Who gives a rip
wish
if
I
it's
had
not
that,
you?
yeah.
You're going to have your time to shine too,
Right.
and don't you want somebody there to celebrate with you?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
You want to have those good feelings when you go through something, and
Yeah.
have the same.
So at the end, should we bring it
Yep.
home?
Let's do it.
So bringing it home, I think what we've learned in our discussion really is, number one, know who you're in competition with,
Yeah.
because your greatest competition should be yourself. Number two, surround yourself with quality people, because
Right.
they will influence you. They're not your competition, they're your influence. There's a massive difference. So if you see them as
That's a-
competition,
That's good.
It's going to be dangerous, and there's going to be challenges. You should see them as a blessing of your inner circle. That can be people that can speak into your life and can give you a good influence and give you somebody to pull you up. Reach up for your friendships. And that has a powerful impact, but they're not your competition, they're your friends. And then genuinely celebrate with people when they win, when they have little life moments. It doesn't need to be something big. We have a thing in our family that, when these boys come in and marry into our family, they've learned, wow, we celebrate a lot. We do.
Yeah, we do.
Because the little things matter. And hey, it's just saying, we're proud of you. I see you. I recognize what you've done. I recognize what you've just accomplished. And good for you. We are behind you. We're your inner circle. And we want to take this journey with you and just be in your corner. So that's what it's about. And I think if we do that, life changes.